person can introduce themselves, can tell you where they live, can tell you about their family. And if you were able to have a class of 2 hours a day, 4 days a week in 12 weeks, they would be competent in that. And that's what we call a compound sentence. My name is, and the names of my children are, and we live in the city of. And if ESL students can do that, they will continue to be in your class, continue to grow in their language. But the key is prime frequency words, function words to begin with, teach in sentence form, and don't worry about the reading. Don't worry about the writing for a period of time. Get them speaking. Use the activities that Faye showed you today. A good ESL class is a noisy class. And your role in it is to be a prompter, to be a monitor, to be around with them. And these are the way we go. Where are you from? Your country, regions or town. Do you have a big family? Your homes and family. Do you have any hobbies? Your hobbies and interest. Are you working or studying at the moment? Your work or studies. Why are you learning English? Reasons for learning English. Have you any special plans for the future? Future plans. And after that, it's whatever the interest of your student is, why they are in your class. If you have a young man, if you have a class of young men from Tanzania and they're tour guides and they want to learn English. So the English I would be teaching them would be what? They're tour guides, it would be about lions and leopards and elephants and danger, Coke, time. Okay, and why would we be learning those predominantly? Because they're tour guides, and if they can make themselves understood and they can fulfil the requirements of the Americans that come to see their park, what happens? They make a living because Americans tip well if they get good service. If the guy can go and get them a Coke in the midst of the heat of the game park. What's your response? What a great guy. And if he's able to say, don't get out of the vehicle at the very moment that a rhino's coming charging, you owe your life to him. You're going to tip him? Of course you are. Because Americans are tippers. It wouldn't do any good in Australia because we're not tippers. Okay, we pay our people a proper wage, as we always say. We don't tip in our culture. That's just how it is. Like I just saw before I came here, the wage for waitresses and wait staff now at restaurants in Sydney and Melbourne are $40 an hour. Do you pay your wait staff $40 an hour? That's why you need to tip them. Okay, so that they do make something of it. Okay, who really, I don't know if you've got any waiters and waitresses, but who wants to be a waiter to cranky people? At times. We're not all cranky, but I've seen some. Okay. So, the Tanzania guide would have language to what he is wanting. If you have a class of people who are wanting to come to the United States, to come into university, the language would be very different because you would be preparing them for a TOEFL test so that they can pass an efficiency in English to come into this state. So once you've got the basics down, it's whatever the need, why your student is in the class. It might be that he wants to get a job here in Harrisburg, and that's, the language is all about him getting a job, all the possibilities of having an interview and what clothes to wear, what's acceptable, what's not acceptable, because it's nervous enough to go and have an interview for a job in first language. You want this job and you're thinking, oh, I hope my mind's clear and I don't say the wrong thing. What's it like for an ESL student? Even more daunting. But if they're confident in the language, that really, really helps. And so if you've got somebody that wants to get into the education system, your language teaching needs to be to meet that need. Now, there's always the subject of correction, whether it's first language, second language, or your ninth language. It's about corrections, when to correct and when not to correct in a class. If you correct all the time, you're stopping the flow of language. Okay? And so, also, it takes away the confidence of the speaker. And so there's two really rules about correction. If it's grammatical, if it's the structure of the language you're teaching, if it's pronunciation in a grammatical setting, you need to correct. Because they want to know how to use the word. They want to know the correct pronunciation. Okay? And there are some language groups that have difficulty with certain sounds. You need to find out what that sound is that's in a language. The lovely Koreans cannot distinguish between the R sound and the L sound in our language. They cannot distinguish unless they're a linguist. Like the Irish, you've got lots of Irish people in here, they don't have the sound. So it's thousands and it's them instead of them and thousands. Okay, but you understand the Irish, you know. And so different people do not have certain sounds, and you only major on those in your correction. That's all you major on, is the sounds that they can't do. And there's certain exercises that you give to your students for those sounds. So in matters of correction, if it's a grammatical, if it's the foundation of the word, the structure of the word, you need to correct. Now the way to correct is, I'll ask Diane here to pronounce something, and she's not able to do so. Now I have said to the class, this is a beautiful day. And I've gone around to the different sections of it, and I'm looking here, but I'm listening there. I'm looking here, but I'm listening there. I'm looking here, but I'm listening there. Okay? Don't ever have your eyes and your ears in the same area, because your students will gather that you are listening just to them, and you're going to pick on them to say it. If you use that technique to do that, you have to learn how to use your listening skills with it. And so I've said to the class this sentence 3 times, and then I've got the class to put my glasses down so I don't break them. You've said to the class that you want to repeat after me, and this is something that is very difficult for people to talk in unison. Ever found it? I listened at the base the other day when we were asked to say something in unison, and it was hopeless, and most of us were, you know, have some sort of grasp on the English language. But you need techniques. This is what I do. When I want the students to speak in unison, I'll start with my hands out here and I'll say, I want everyone to repeat after me, and when I'm ready to start, that's where my hands are. And my students learn that when my hands come together, that's when they start. Okay, don't make a noise, just there, and everybody starts together. It never fails. And you've got your students looking at you. You need them to be always looking at you, because language is about your mouth and where you put your tongue and where your air comes out and things like that. So in corrections, I ask Diane to repeat, this is a beautiful day, and I hear that she cannot say the word beautiful. Okay? So I come back from her, and again I say the sentence, go around, and I'm listening. But all the time I'm listening for Diane. No matter where I am, I'm listening to see, to hear if she's got it, because sometimes there are some words that our ESL cannot say. And that's, you need to put in your mind and go. Then I'd come to Bill and I'd ask him to say, this is a beautiful day. It gives Diane yet another opportunity to hear this sentence, and he's able to say it. I come over to Mike and I get Mike to say it. I come over to Grace and Grace says it. I don't come back here. I don't, because my listening skills, when I've got them saying it together, I find that she has heard it and she can say it. She doesn't have to say it out loud. I don't shame her, I don't pick her out, I don't focus on her at all. Now, in my language learning, I'm a visual learner, so you can imagine how difficult it was when I had to learn 3 languages that were oral languages. There was nothing to see. Very difficult. So I understand. But this is how I learn a language. I hear the sentence. I don't say anything about it. And then I hear it a second time and I write it down. And I write it down as to how I hear it. Not in any phonetic writing or anything else. How I hear it. I hear a K on the end of this, I hear a C on the end of this, and I write it down. I hear it again, and I check, and I think, oh no, that's not a K sounding, that's a H sounding. And so I change it. I hear it again, and I've got my writing sound as it is, and then I attempt it. Now, I'm a lady that knows a number of languages, but that's how I am comfortable in learning a language. That's where I don't feel any pressures upon me. And so having that understanding about myself and my own learning styles, that's why I don't come back to the person who was not able to hear. She might be like me, Diane might be like me, needs to hear it 4 times before she actually gets it. So we learn at a different rate, and we need to understand that. So in matters of correction, do not single people out. Do not single people out. And do the correction when it matters, which is in the foundation, the structure of it. If you are having them then use the words in conversation, in general talk like that, and they're making a mistake, do not stop the flow of the language. You're wanting them to have fluency, but you're wanting them to be able to construct a full sentence. Make a note in your head, and if you don't have a good head to remember, have a piece of paper, nothing wrong with making lists, and write down the errors that you hear, and then at another day do the structure again of that, because it's a consistent error there. So when it's about competency, let the language flow with its error. Now, some students will want you to correct, other students will not. And as you get to know your students, you'll know who to correct and who not to in fluency of languages, because we can spend our whole day correcting incorrect speech, and nobody profits from that. It's just a frustration. And